Howdy, everybody. Shots College. How y'all doing? It is March, I don't know, 18th. Close to spring. Feels like spring out there. Hope you guys are doing okay. I'm doing a lot better. I was in the hospital last week for 4 days, and it is clearing my disease up. Don't worry, I'm not contagious. Anyway, for the next 2 weeks, we're going to do a deep dive into cinema. That's a fancy word for movies for you folks. The French Uh, kind of started early cinema. I know you think it started here, but it didn't. I mean, Thomas Edison actually invented the camera and how it works, but the Lumiere brothers in France developed the first movie theater for screenings for people to come in and sit and watch. There's a revolution. This is probably 1901 or thereabouts. I'm going to look at the documentary I'll present after I'm through talking to you. And we're going to do a deep dive for the next. I'm going to try to go through all the decades I can. We're starting early on, of course, and come up to the present. Do you guys go to movies? Do you like movies? Why do you like movies? That's the conversation. Do you go to movies? Do you like them? Are they boring? Do you need action films? Do you need the Fast and the Furious? Or can you sit through a contemplative art film with subtitles? Have you ever done that? Do you want to do that? Well, we're going to explore cinema as the deep collective art of the 20th century, 21st century. It's the only art that we know that we all sit in a big place together and view the screen. Now, I know we're all streaming now, things are different, but you go to the movie theater, I hope. Maybe you don't. But it's an experience, it's a collective experience. To give you a little bit of background on my cinema, so that's what I studied in college, was filmmaking. San Francisco State, long before you guys are born. I wanted to be a filmmaker because I love the films of Ingmar Bergman and Sam Peckinpah and Alfred Hitchcock, John Huston and Elia Kazan. These guys influenced my young childhood. I wanted to do what they were doing, which was being a director. In those days, when I went to film school, there was not a lot of opportunity to learn directing um, like there is now. Anyway, I used to write screenplays. I lived in Hollywood for 10 years, wrote screenplays, worked on movies, and I didn't get to direct a movie until I moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico, about 1990, and I directed two films out there, God Drives a Pontiac and Punch Drunk and Jesus Chrysler. And then and they played the film festival circuits. I'll be talking about that later when we get to the Sundance aspect of this course and how important Sundance Film Festival was to everything. And then I moved to Portland, Oregon to continue my education. I made a film up there called La Devotion, which played in New York City, by the way. And I made it, I shot it, wrote it, directed it, did the music. Cost me $1,500. You could do this, folks. And this is before the invention of these things. I filmed it on a digital camera. And because I believe in not waiting around for somebody to give me the green light to make my own film, I'm making one right now. I've got 4 or 5 different cameras I'm shooting on all the time. It's essentially kind of a fictitious documentary about a aging punk rock musician living in back in his hometown and trying to grow old gracefully, which is not easy when you come up in the punk rock era of rage and anger and mosh pits. I hope to finish it in the next year. I'm not in any hurry. I film when I can with some people whenever I can gather them. Um, yeah. Nothing's going to stop me except for me getting ill. That stopped me for a whole month, actually. Anyway, so today I'll keep it brief. I also want to talk about the next couple of papers that are going to be due. We're going to probably do another essay to be on a film. Then you're going to do a quiz on film. Next week you're going to watch a documentary. called Easy Rider Raging Bulls. It's on YouTube for free, and I'm going to have a quiz based on that film. It's a documentary. Um, but more on that later. And then after that, there's going to be, I don't think there's going to be another essay. There might be because I'm going to do rock and roll, serious music. Um, and there'll probably be an essay there. And then your final paper is going to be a research paper that you choose the topic from all the stuff we've done. Talk about that more later. You'll have 2 whole weeks to do it. That's going to how we're going to finish this semester. And it's going to be not an essay, not a critical essay, um, like you've been doing. It's going to be a research paper because I want you guys to research a topic, an artist, Picasso, Vermeer, a filmmaker, Hitchcock, your favorite director, who that might be, Christopher Nolan, who just won for Academy Award. Maybe you like his films, maybe you like Quentin Tarantino. You can write about it, or you want to write about hip hop music or punk rock or the Beatles. I don't care. I'll give you guys a bunch of choices, and that'll be that for the semester because we end in May, which is fastly approaching. Hope you guys are doing okay out there. Keep getting your papers in. Um, keep looking my instructions and look what I'm looking for in these essays, which is when I say your thoughts and words as you distill them from the research or the films you watch or the documentaries that you're basing your research on or the textbook. Just don't take their words and paste them into your article or your essay, and make sure you follow the page count and the MLA format and all that good stuff because that's what these papers are all about: academic research, essays, critical essays, and thinking critically, looking at something like an artist like uh, Van Gogh and looking at his life critically. Why does he matter? Why does Frida Kahlo matter? There's a great series on Amazon right now called Frida. One word, Frida. Watch it. Write your paper on that. I posted it. That's fine. It's a great documentary. It's 80 minutes of your life to explore a female artist who was a path breaker, feminist, born and raised in Mexico. Um, we're talking about the 1920s and 30s. She had a horrible accident that eventually killed her. Took her 30 years to die, but it did. Anyway, I hope you guys are getting something out of this class. I'm reading some good papers. I can see the people putting the work in. I appreciate it. Um, what else is there to talk about? Keep your journals up. You'll be posting those the very last week of school, so don't post them yet. And in the late 19th century, Thomas Edison, who was an inventor, you've heard of him, I hope. He invented the light bulb, invented the phonograph, as you would call it. Well, we called them record players, but you would call them turntables now. He invented that in his office in New Jersey, and then he invented essentially the movie camera. Um, and he got together with a place that made film, and they started making movies. There was still photography up until that point, and he invented a way of making the film go through the camera faster, um, and to make it appear like it's moving. It became a phenomenon almost overnight. They got in the early days they would have these short little films that they played on Nickelodeons. They're essentially like almost like a what you'd call almost a video machine. Now you look into it, put a nickel in. That's why they're called Nickelodeons. And there'd be a guy on a horse racing a horse. There'd be a man and woman kissing. There would be a boxing match. There would be a woman doing ballet. That's what the films are about. They're all about 2 minutes long, and people were shocked in awe. In France, the Lumiere brothers looked at it and they discovered that people were willing to see something longer than 1 minute or 2 minutes. And they came up with the concept of showing a longer film, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, of mundane things, people working in a factory, people walking in the street. We're not talking about stories. We're not talking about Quentin Tarantino X-Men here or Iron Man, whatever it is you watch. Um, no, we're a long way from that yet. And they saw a chance to show it in a theater, like a where they show plays. That people were willing to come in, pay a dime, and sit there and watch it on a big screen as they helped invent the movie projector. I'm going to show you a brief documentary. Look at it if I can find it. I hope it's still free online. I'll go look for it. Story of Film, it's called, part one. People were mesmerized by that visual, and they wanted more. And so then people became fascinated with trying to make a story. And some of the earliest stories, you're going to watch one or maybe two. They're short, guys. They're only 5, 6 minutes long. That's what people looked at in 1901, 1902. The industrial age is happening. We're not in a war, so that's nice. That's coming though in about 15 years. Um, People wanted to. The cars are starting to be invented. Airplanes are starting to be invented. Modern warfare. We're getting away from cavalry charges on horseback, although there was some in World War One. The horses were slaughtered on a high level because they horses were. I'll talk about that later, but horses would charge machine guns. Yeah, it's not a good thing. But they learned quick how to stop charging machine guns on a horse. Not going to work out for you. Anyway, so lots and lots of stuff. The industrial age is just firing on all four cylinders. Um, People wanted more. Technology, as they knew it then, um, was just booming. Um, Telephone was being invented. Alexander Graham Bell was talking to people on this little device, um, and and it changed the world, literally. And trains were hooked up across the United States. You could take a train from the East Coast to the West Coast. It would take 8 or 9 days, maybe longer, but it was possible. And that's was the miracle of modern travel in those days until the planes took over. But that there was no passengers planes yet. That becomes a thing 20 years in the future. Anyway, the country's kind of blossoming. Um, Teddy Roosevelt's our president. He likes movies. Things are moving, they're popping, they're jumping. And we're going to do a deep dive into cinema and the glorious collective art form, movie making. Like Jean-Luc Godard said, famous French filmmaker, everything is cinema. And when he said that in about 1959, it sounded crazy. But if you think about it now, kids. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, cinema is everywhere. There's a camera on every street corner watching our driving, watching what coffee we order at Starbucks. We're all in the movies. Now, here's the thing. Can you control your own movie? Do you want to write your own story? That's what you got to do. You got to control the message, as McLuhan said. Um, Control your message. That's important. So that's what we're doing this week. Keep up the good work. I'll, s- I probably will assign an essay at the end of this week that'll be on a film you have to watch. It's probably going to be on a silent film. Get ready. You're going to watch it. It's only 35 minutes long. It's called The Kid with Charlie Chaplin. It's the first movie that put him on the map in a big way. Yes, it's in black and white. Yes, it's silent. It's a beautiful thing of art, made 1921 about. And let me also clue you up on this one. Silent films weren't silent. No, they had no way to record audio. There was no such thing. So they would have live music accompany the screening. Organ music, sometimes piano music, sometimes a full orchestra. And they would put in sound effects in the orchestra. If there was a gunshot, they'd have a person imitating a gunshot in the auditorium. So when you see a film like um, T.W. Griffith's film Birth of a Nation, he put in horses running. It's set during the Civil War. He put in rifles firing, cannons. It was all put in later on the live versions of these. It became an event to show these movies. You got dressed up. We didn't go down in our pajamas like we do now. And you got dressed up and you had a night out. And then somebody came up with the brilliant concept to sell refreshments. And that made $1 billion. Overnight, people wanted their popcorn, their soft drinks, whatever they were drinking in those days. Coca-Cola had real cocaine in it, by the way. Weren't those the days? So anyway, welcome to the world of cinema. As Godard say, cinema is truth at 24 frames a second. What that means, film cameras used to go through the aperture at 24 frames a second. That's what our human eye sees as regular motion. That's what these cameras mimic. And he would say the truth is 24 frames a second. I also believe in that because I believe in cinema. It's been my passion all my life. Maybe it's been yours. And I blame my mother on it. She got me going early. I'm not kidding. 6 years old, she was taking me to the movies. I was her movie buddy. For some reason, my brothers didn't really care for movies. And I would go see movies that she wanted to see, not children's movies. When all my friends were going to see Walt Disney and Sound of Music and Mary Poppins, my mother was taking me to the new James Bond movie or the new Paul Newman movie or new Marlon Brando movie. It was above my head. I didn't know what the hell was going on, but it stuck in me like nothing else since. And I've been a believer in cinema ever since. I still believe. Hope you do too. Come on for the ride.